Oh, how beautiful that is. How amazing to experience those words and all of the memories that it brings back. The incredible, incredible gifts of what that meant, the words to that song, how they impacted my life. I first knew Oman and Shanti, who sing that song, who composed it from a text in the Course in Miracles in the late 1970s, probably 78, 79. And then I brought them to Unity north of the river, Ed, in the early 1980s. And sort of rocked and rolled that Unity ministry for a while with their coming. And then Oman and Shanti kind of ended their singing together as Shanti married a person who later became a Unity minister. And when I was doing my chapel talk in ministerial school, Shanti actually sang that as one of the songs. And Shanti was the person actually that introduced me to Paul, who became my husband for 23 years. This song has had amazing impact on my life. Let me remember that I am one with God. So how beautiful it is. And Fabienne, you are another one of God's gifts in my life. And let's bring in the first slide, celebrating the past and visioning the future. Our worldwide Called by Love Institute annual call in December, where we look at our year and we celebrate all of the things that has been, past, present, and future as now. Whole new way of looking at past, present, and future for me than I had in those early years of the 1980s when I first went to ministerial school. Didn't really understand then multiple realities existing simultaneously. So that gives me hope for the future now, realizing that we don't always understand what we're looking at in our lives. We can't always imagine how past, present, and future are all manifesting simultaneously in our life, depending on where we put our focus and where we put our energy. So let's go to the next slide, Fabienne. I love remembering Called by Love's mission statement: to harness the power of love as a revolutionary and evolutionary force, both and. Revolutionary is the soul ascending, evolutionary is spirit descending. And they work together, co-creating in the manifest world. To harness that power of love and realizing in healing lives and building dreams and realizing purpose and destiny and legacy, connecting ordinary and extraordinary people. Actually, that's both and, because every one of us is both ordinary and extraordinary, connecting us to our and the planet's fullest potential, bringing awareness and light into the world. When we wrote this mission statement, I didn't understand the phrase awareness with a capital A and of awareness with a small a. It's really clear to me that we are always learning what always already exists. And so let's go to the next slide. So we always think about how we're going to organize the calls, how the call will unfold over the 90 minutes that we share together. So the first thing always for me is prayer. So let's do that invocation right now as we pray in. And we simply say, "Come, Holy Spirit, O beloved one, come upon us. Move in us, move through us. Reveal yourself in our lives as us. Show us the way. Guide us, direct us." And as we come into this time together, we simply say, "O beloved one, Holy Spirit, we give our lives to you. We give the mission and the purpose and the passion of Called by Love Institute to you. And each of the lives individually of souls who come together under that. We are so grateful. Every day, in every way, let our lives be love in action. In the stillness of every moment, in every breath, let our life be love." And so it is. Amen. And so, highlights from 2021, and that Fabienne and I, and oh, I'm so grateful for Fabienne. Fabienne and I coming together clearly was a God job. We had no idea it would happen, and the Holy Spirit arranged for it. I can see that in absolutely every way. And so, Fabienne, let's go with the highlights, and you and I together share some of these. We do calls with different people in different months of the year. And most of all, I love inviting people to be on the calls that have been significant in my life. David Macarthur was a former president of the Association of Unity Churches, a longtime Unity minister, an amazing friend. And so I wanted to have a dialogue with him about opening your heart into 100 days of prayer, because we were in the midst of planning that. And another person that I'm so deeply grateful in this year, 2021, is Jim DeFontis, who was president of the board at Unity in Tustin at that time. And he said to me, "Marj, Unity of Tustin needs to have you come back and teach, because your coming back to teach is going to be part of the healing that has to happen, that Spirit wants to happen." And so we talked about it. I said yes, but I didn't know what I would teach. And I threw out a couple of ideas. Jim said, "You choose and let me know." And all of a sudden, the awareness of the 100 days that was so important in the imprint of this country, the 100 days of a new presidential administration, gets repeated every time a new president is elected. And that was happening in January, the inauguration of a new president that was going to happen the end of January. I think it was on Wednesday maybe, or the 20th. I'm vague in my memory of that exact date, but 100 days of prayer, which wasn't about the Biden administration, it was about prayer as consciousness, as the foundation of miracles. And it was based on all of the principles that I had in my contract with God over the 19 years, my covenant with God over the 19 years that I was senior minister at Unity of Tustin. And so we had weekly calls over that period of 100 days, inviting everyone to be in prayer, not only for themselves and for their own lives, for their families' lives, for the lives of people that they loved, for their communities and Unity of Tustin as a community, but also for Called by Love and for Orange County, California, and the state of California, and the country as a nation, and the world as a global being, a living energy of spirit. 100 days of prayer. And so it was a very, very significant and important time to me. And it was also part of a vision that I still hold, that one day, Called by Love and Unity of Tustin will hold a recognized relationship in the co-creation of what Spirit would bring into manifestation. So I see that so clearly. I even see glimpses of how it would happen. I said to Fabienne, I think I'm the only one that sees that. But it's so clear to me. It's been clear to me for a long time. I always thought everyone had vision the way I do. And I'm beginning to realize they don't. The visionary imprint is something that impacts a small percentage of the people I've found. There's even a quiz on Richard and Kylie's, who I'm going to talk about later, website that lets you know your leadership style. And no surprise for me, my leadership style is visionary. So let's go to the next phase, the next slide. Fabienne, you talk about this one briefly.
Hello, everyone. Hello again. It's beautiful to be with everyone. And on this month of December and the holiday, but also as we have on the screen here, the Valentine's Day. And because it was really present with me last night, preparing for the call. And I apologize if the sound goes in and out. I'm still having trouble with my computer. That's another story, but hopefully you can hear me. And it was really present with me last night, looking at the list of everybody who had responded that you would be here with us today, that there was no one on the list that I knew before knowing Marj and connecting through Called by Love and Unity of Tustin. So for me, it's just like that connection through the heart and love that, of course, was present on Valentine's Day, but it's end of the holidays and throughout the year. That's how we are connected. And a little note here on Marj's birthday on April 15th. One of the things that we, Marj and I have done more regularly again recently is to like sit down in the silence. And she had a message about the birthday, her next birthday, April 15 next year. And I said, you know, it's an anniversary for me too, because April 15 was the first time I started to get connection and messages years back before knowing her. But that's one of the connection and points of lights as well.
And this one is especially wonderful for me because I've known E.J. Niles for a long, long time. And she is a Unity minister. She was the minister in Bandon, Oregon. That was her first church. And then she went to Fairfax, Virginia. And now she's back in Bandon after having served on the faculty of the ministerial school for 7 or 8 years and teaching the Bible through the lens of the spiral. And so I was really excited about having a dialogue with EJ about living the spiral. And all of these calls are still available on our website. If any of you say, oh, I wish I could hear that, you can. All you have to do is go on the website and look under the videos or the archives. I can't remember for sure which is, but they're all still available. And we're always harnessing our understanding of how we want to be and do. So I love that. Doobie, 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 do. It's the teeter-totter constantly, but ultimately it's love in action through living the stillness and through manifesting it in the world. So, Fabienne, do you want to talk about one of these and I'll talk about the other?
Sure. Well, with what's present about the magic, you know, when we did that call, I remember posting in the email picture with my godfather in Belgium that had, I was doing a magic trick with him on my I think you say small communion here. And since then he passed. And for me, that's also present in, you know, what is guiding us in our life, in the visible, in the invisible. And I know Marj wanted to have some of the highlights of the year. And I'm also really looking forward to hearing everyone who is here today. So I'm not going to speak too much so we can get to the part where we get to hear from each one of you after what Marj wants to share.
And one of the things that I've found to be so important is the experience of living our lives, being aware that our entire life is actually a part of our experience of the foundations of our life that represent the time that we were born. And so it's always important to be aware and always come back to that knowing. So that includes faith and trust. And Fabienne, on to the next slide. And you.
Yeah, this, for those of you who were present or watched the recording of that call, you might remember it was a profound and vulnerable and sensitive time because it was the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And many of you know that that's where I was, and some of you who are here today were on that call. I remember our shares. But what was also really beautiful was all the synchronicities that have happened, including just before the call, and that picture that is there was right here in Orange County with Craig, and having that connecting the dots even on other side of the country or of the world. And again, with the holy wounds, some of you know this from me. These past years have not been easy in different ways. And I'm just staying with the faith and the trust, and that the healing is in progress.
and how it works.
And
Healing is part of the process.
Yeah.
All right, the next slide. So one of the really important parts of this is the book club that we just completed, and how beautiful that is. It's amazing that it happened out of the blue. So many times that's the way it works, out of the blue, surprise. And the magic and the miracles of how that comes together. I didn't even know Ronnie. I didn't have any idea who she was. And I met her through the Inside Ed. She's now a board member of the Inside Ed. She lives in Northern California, and she has an author's book club. And she called me and asked me if I would do a 7-week course on her book club. And I said yes. And so we just completed that. So this is one of the beautiful things that we've done this year. And I've, out of that experience, stepped into the awareness of a vaster vision for all of 2022. So let's go to the next slide. This was a really important moment. It was on one of the calls that we were doing, the magic and miracles of the power of divine imagination, manifesting from divine mind. And Terry Patton all of a sudden showed up on the gallery view. And oh my God, he had been in the process of dealing with a 4th stage cancer. And I was absolutely shocked to see him come on the gallery view. But I immediately welcomed him and said, "Oh, Terry, it is so wonderful." And then we had a short dialogue, and Bruce was part of that and shared very deeply with Terry. And then what happened was that I said, "Terry, you know, I'm 82 years old. I don't know how much longer I have left. It may be short time. You are in the experience of living in a prognosis that says you may have a short time. So how about our making a deal? If I go first, I'll do it for you. If you go first, you'll do it for me. Let's make a deal. You will help me if you go first by guiding me from the invisible. You will make connections as part of the cosmic team that both of us have worked for and with for all of the years that we've known each other. All of the years. And I met Terry in 2004 at an Integral conference, and we had lunch. And Terry smiled big, and he raised his thumb and he said, "You got it." I will treasure that moment as the last moment of dialogue that I ever had with Terry Patton. So the next slide, Fabienne. And so the book club, an interactive book club, happened from October to December of this year. And it was absolutely amazing. I told stories and experiences that I'd never told publicly before. And there was one call that was about life in my 20s that included moments in time with my son, Bud. And this one is a beautiful moment when I was giving him spiritual baptism. Receive ye the Holy Spirit. And it's very interesting that today, one of the things I picked up just before the call was this mirrored thing that Bud wrote. For everyone within here and without here, he's talking about what he's grateful for. And so I'm wanting to have you know that I'm grateful for everyone within here and without here, and for being able to still be. And then Bud added, and for being welcomed and wanted and needed. Well, what I'm aware of is that that's needed by every single person on the planet. The feeling of being welcomed and wanted and needed. And so for Bud and for all of you, I am so grateful. And then this slide was from the call that we did that was about Bruce's life. And it was an amazing call. And hi, Bruce. I'm seeing your picture there on the slide. And then this call was about Amy. And Amy's on the call today. And so I'm going to have her come on after Michael, probably Michael and John Welsh and Amy. You're talking about your life and my experience of having your shoulder buddy, Ben was his name, come through and give me a message for you in the midst of our time together, of working together, preparing for this call. Quite amazing. So next slide.
Before we move on, because we are coming full circle, I also wanted to say a few words about the book club, the interactive book club, because it was really touching to have several of the participants, in addition to Marj, and I did one myself, like sharing this way and bringing the sacred love story into the codes of co-creations and the matrix. We had done that before, and some of you who are here today were with us when we were doing that in person in the sanctuary, and then when we did that in Big Bear a couple of years ago. And this was the first time we were doing it online and with sharing pictures that way. And so it was definitely touching to hear not only from Marj, but Bruce and Amy and all that who shared. So yeah, thank you.
The picture in the upper right-hand corner is the session that Fabienne did. That was focused on life in her 30s. And of course that expands then from birth until now, because
right. For those who are familiar with the matrix that we've been using of the 7 years matrix, they are, we were working with the codes of Marj book, which are the codes from the gardens at Unity, but it also like repeats over time. So that was the intention of bringing it all together that way. So thank you again for everyone who participated throughout this year, throughout the year before, and to the book club, which bring it full circle now.
And I love this picture because it represents something that is profoundly important to me. And this is a picture that I've had in my Bible for many, many years of angels spiraling. And so Fabienne, talk about this just briefly.
Yes, and we can do a time check about if we want to play the song or not. So during the book club, we were using music for the different calls. And for the calls that I shared, I had chosen this song, 100,000 Angels from Lucinda Drayton from Bliss. And the connection was that I had met her in my 30s and there was a lot of synchronicities, and she had given us permission to have her song as part of the recording just by asking people to, go to her website and support her. But because we are so looking forward to hear from everyone who is here, I don't know, Marj, what do you think about the song, or skipping?
Let's skip and come back to it if we have time.
Okay.
We can send the link. And so here's this spiraling angels image again, and the all things are possible image that comes out of a book that I have loved, that is part of the experience that I go back to over and over and over again. And what happens is that we live multiple levels of reality simultaneously, and we don't always know it, but they're all always there, always available to us if we are willing to shift our attention out of one reality into another reality. And this can happen unconsciously multiple times a day. It can happen in cycles in time, years of our lives, but all of the realities are potentials, and we see through the lens of the one that we're living in one moment in time. And so it's really fascinating. And I live my life with this awareness now. So it's really fascinating. I love that. And Fabienne, let's go to the next slide. And this brings us to Michael Ward. Michael, come online and let's let you talk about, well, first I want to talk about you. So I've got to look for you and find you, Michael. And I'm going to ask you to unmute. And I'm going to add you as a pin. Michael, first of all, what I want to tell you is how significant and important you have been to me in my life. We have known each other since the early 2000s. Before you went to Germany, and then you came back from Germany, where you were called back into service with the military. And you came back from Germany, and that's that day you returned. I invited you to come up on the platform and talk about your experience in Germany. And you said yes. And I don't know if he's ever told you, but Bruce recently told me that was one of the most profound moments that he ever experienced at Unity of Tustin. You have the ability, Michael, to connect with people's hearts in a way that is beyond what you even realize. And you have been the person that I could glance at in the congregation. And this existed for over the 19 years that I was minister, that I could literally glance at you and look into your eyes just for a moment and feel the connection with spirit. You have been one of the most significant supporters of Unity of Tustin through those years. And you did it through not only your ties and your treasures and your talents, but you did it in your love and friendship to me. And I just want to say thank you, Michael. You have made a huge difference in my life. And because of Andrew Harvey, both of us have done traveling together. Andrew Harvey suggested India and suggested Europe, Shards Cathedral. And we've said yes to those kinds of moments. And so the first trip that both of us made to India was because of Andrew Harvey, and we took that trip together. So I've loved traveling internationally with you. I'd never traveled beyond this continent until you said, "Oh, Marj, you've got to gain a vaster view of the world." But you've continued it, and your latest love is India. And so I want you to come tell us about that. Tell us about India, and I'll let you take it from there.
Okay, well, thank you. And no, it's been important for me to be a member at Unity of Tustin too, and it's been a real catapult for me on my spiritual journey. So I thank you for that. When I retired, I'm an anesthesiologist, and I retired in 1980. No, I retired in 2013. I'm sorry, I'm going back. But I retired in 2013, and I knew that I wanted to give back to society in some way because I'd had a very, very blessed life. And I wasn't sure what that was going to be. And Andrew Harvey actually said, "Mike, when you meditate," he said, "meditate in the middle of the night. And what is it really that breaks your heart?" I said, "Okay." And so I did that for a few months, and children kept coming in, and I wasn't understanding what that was all about. And then all of a sudden I realized that what really broke my heart were children who didn't have the opportunities that I had. And so I decided I needed to support children that were impoverished. And I didn't want to start a foundation. I was finished with the outer world and working with that. And so I went to Rishikesh. In fact, Coral, who's on the call now, she came to that first journey with me in Rishikesh. I met her there, and she knew what I was interested in. And so we looked around and looked at several different places, and nothing really resonated for us. India has been a very, very special place for me, as it has really expanded my own consciousness out of just Christianity. Not that there's anything wrong with Christianity. It's quite beautiful, and I love it. But there's much more than staying just with one path for me. And so we went there and we looked at places, and nothing resonated. And so we came back, and I got an email from Coral, and she said, "Here, check this out. Someone sent me this link to a school in India, in Rishikesh." So I went and I looked online at Mother Miracle School. In fact, I'll put it in the chat here if anyone is interested. Mother Miracle School. And I looked at it and I went through the website, and I just started tearing. It was amazing. And I knew that's where I needed to be. So I called India. I called Shalaji, who had been the founder of Mother Miracle. And her story is all online if anyone is interested. And so I said, "I'm coming back." This was in January that Coral Rose and I were there. And I said, "I'm coming back to India in October. Can I please come and see the school?" She said, "Of course." So I went there, and it was absolutely amazing. I walked in, I was greeted. It was a beautiful, beautiful welcoming. I toured the school with Shala, and the friend June Sinclair, who lives there, was there with some friends from America who were visiting and volunteering there. And so we took a tour of the school, and then we came back. And coming back, the children there, it's an amazing school. The children are all from the slum areas. They're impoverished. And we saw the children, the little kids eating. There's an all-you-can-eat lunch there. And so we saw the youngest kids eating there. And then I saw this little boy. He just looked right up at me with these beautiful eyes. And my heart just broke, and I started tearing. And I said, "Shala, does he need a sponsor?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "I'll take him." And he's been my greatest joy in life since then. In fact, his birthday was just on Friday, and we have a bakery there at the school. And so we can send money for bakery goods and things. And so I have a picture here I can show you on the screen perhaps. But it was absolutely amazing. He's so happy. He called me just 2 days ago and said, "I want to talk to you. How are you doing? How are you doing?" And he's just so sweet. And, you know, that's been my greatest joy in life now is I've traveled all over India. Since that time, I've been up to the Himalayas, I've been to South India, I've been to Sri Lanka just this last year. No, well, that was 2 years ago before lockdown. And so it's just been my greatest joy in life. Yeah, so do you have any other questions, Marj?
Well, I just love hearing you talk about it, Michael, and hold up the picture that you.
Let me find it. I have a picture on my phone. Yeah, here it is right here, maybe.
And it's just so, that's perfect. That's a perfect shot of it.
He's 11 years old now. I've known him for what, 4 years. I bought him a telephone. He calls me, and they have been doing school online using telephones. And there's nothing, my life now is dedicated to that school. The rest of my life will be supporting that school.
So this is such a beautiful example. Now go back to that mission statement that we looked at the very beginning. Revolutionary and evolutionary love. This is not about called by love. It is about the people who have been part of it, imprinting that passion and purpose and awareness and consciousness into their individual lives, and taking that imprint and letting that imprint of love change the world. And Michael, you are the best example of that I can think of. You know, you have taken every moment of what I've ever taught and more, because you have your own brilliance and your own genius, but all of the moments that we've shared, not only at Unity of Tustin, all of the pilgrimages we've done together, the traveling, all of the moments where you've participated, you were always have been actively involved in all of the in-person events at Unity in Tustin relative to Called by Love. You're living it now, Michael. You are living every vibration of your being, that love that is changing the world. And so that is one of the things I really want to celebrate on this call. And we actually sent the link to everyone before the call, and we'll send it out again after the call when we send, or I don't know. I don't know how Fabienne does all of this, but you have the link to that call that was recently done that I was on. I attended it, and there were how many people online? I can't remember, 40 or 50. I'm guessing the shot that we had on our screenshot. Fabienne, if you want to go back to that screenshot. Because one of the people in that screenshot happens to be someone Fabienne knows, AJ. Now, isn't it amazing that you and AJ are now part of the energy and the board of Mother Miracle School?
No, AJ's an amazing guy. He studied with Anthony Robbins, as did Fabienne. Mm-hmm. And I came back and he was great. He had gone there and he was volunteering, and that's where we met. And a group of us got together when we came back, because all of us came back just after lockdown started. And AJ's the one on, oh, there it is. Okay, good. So that's our meeting. We had a Call by Love, not Call by Love, Mother Miracle Awareness Call, which we do every 3 months. And so what we do is invite everybody to come on, and it was a fundraising thing, and we raised $32,000 just in that one day. It was absolutely amazing. But AJ is in the second row on the left, and he is a motivational speaker and very actively involved in his dedication to us, to Mother Miracle and other organizations. And so it's been just a great joy to be part of it and to support Mother Miracle.
And because I was on that call, I was very interested in noticing and even counted and wrote down the names of, I don't know, it was 10 or 12 people that had been connected with Unity of Tustin, including Coral, including Michael, including June Sinclair. And it was, and of course I was on the call, but there were others, Unity of Tustin connected. And it's fascinating. Linda Cook is sponsoring a child from Mother Miracle School. It's incredible the way that the universe links together these two energy fields. One, Unity of Tustin, and one, Mother Miracle School. And, you know, we all have our own links to who we are and where we are in this experience called life.
And I'll just point out on the call up there too, to the left of there at the top is Shalaji. She's Shala Etafa, who founded the school. And she has the most amazing story you will ever hear if you go to that link that I put in the chat and look up her story. And just to the next to her is Nicole, who is amazing. These are all board members. And so Nicole is very talented with computers and finance and planning. And so she's on the board. Then there's me. And then Kasum, who's the next one over. She's absolutely amazing. She's a product of Mother Miracle. She was one of the first students who ever started with Mother Miracle, and now she is the director of our administrative services. She's absolutely brilliant and so motivated. And Karen is on the next one over. She's a great, wonderful person who has taken trips to India, who has sponsored tours through Phil Goldberg to India. And she's sort of like the person who does all of our work in getting financial support and everything. She's just amazing. So we have a very, very productive team, but I would really encourage you just to go look at the website.
And listen to the call that we sent you. So that's another way to get acquainted with it. And what I love about you, Michael, is you are, like it or not, an amazing storyteller. You would never identify yourself as a storyteller.
No.
And yet, when you sit on having coffee with someone in Italy, you tell stories.
I was just in Italy in September, October, and I was sitting having a coffee, and this woman who I was introduced to, her name is Brenda, and she leads retreats over there. In fact, she is a fellow Swami under Muktananda with David now, Swami Brahmananda. And so we're having a coffee. And so I was telling her about the story here at Mother Miracle, and she was so touched. She said, "Oh, I want to support a child." And so then she supported a child. And then just in the last 2 weeks, I got an email from her. She said, "Michael, I just wanted to let you know that I've just dedicated the major part of my portfolio when I leave the planet to Mother Miracle." It's unbelievable. And it was just over a coffee that we were talking. And then another person over there I saw, she's a German who lives in Assisi now. Her name is Ingrid. She started sponsoring a child too. So it's just amazing, just amazing.
So I love it. I absolutely cherish the fact that Unity of Tustin and Called by Love were part of the imprints that has inspired you, taken you, infiltrated you. Just part, not all, because you're genius. Your own soul's purpose and destiny is ultimately the core of it. But what I realize is that Called by Love has been part of that too. Unity of Tustin has been part of that too. Moments in time, all of those are so important. And the next person I'm going to bring on is John Welshans. So,
Marj,
yes.
I'm looking forward to hearing John, definitely John. But I'm aware that Carol has to leave early. So I just wanted to check if Carol, you wanted to share anything before. Okay.
Carol?
Well, just listening to this really just brings such joy to my heart. Well, first of all, being here on the call. And Marj, how this unfolded here in the universe was Phil Goldberg came to Unity of Tustin to deliver a seminar. And I barely knew Michael, only through Called by Love, hadn't said more than, a few words to him. And he had wanted to go back to India. You knew I was going and suggested we go together or that we meet there. And we got to know each other and planned this trip that he spoke about. And on that trip, I shared with him dreams I had had about supporting young girls in Rishikesh. And as he said, nothing resonated, nothing felt right to both of us that first trip. And I reached out to June Sinclair and said to her, hey, Michael and I would really love to do something. We've left. Can you help? And putting it out there within a week is when she wrote back. She had met Shala, didn't know her, lived in her apartment complex, and met her, went to check out the school and sent the link to myself and Michael. So it's just beautiful how it unfolded. I also supported a young lady there, and that happened. Michael caught it all on camera, and she just brings a lot of joy to my life. And I know she is going to grow up and just make a huge difference on the planet, and all these children will. So, Michael, love you and thank you for that. And Marj, you were the genesis. You were the beginning of that, and Called by Love. So.
And I would say, Coral, that we co-created that. We co-created that, Coral, just going over there. And, we were there, and all of a sudden it just manifested itself.
Yes.
It was brilliant.
And of course, June Sinclair used to attend the Unity of Tustin. And now she's in India.
Yes.
And also.
And Marj, she was thrilled when I delivered to her on a latter trip an autograph signed copy of your book. She treasures it. So it's just a beautiful just a beautiful connection. My heart is just full talking about it, and seeing Michael and seeing how much your little one's grown. It's shocked me. So
he's amazing.
Yeah, he's grown up. He is so lucky. So to have you as his dad, and I know you're a father to many over there. So, but love you all.
I thank you, Coral, for coming on, and I want to bring John Welshans on, and I also want to get to Amy and Michaelia. So, John Welshans, let's see if we can find you on the gallery view and bring you on. I see you. And
hi.
Hey.
So good to be with you all.
Hey, John.
Good to see you, John. Thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. What a delight. This is a great holiday celebration.
So, John, you have been an incredible support for me in my life and influence. You met me because you were sitting next to Roger Walsh and Mary Omwake at a gathering with Ram Dass, and they asked you if you knew me, and you didn't. And Mary Omwake picked up her cell phone and said, well, you'll meet her, and called. And that's how we met. And so you've also been an amazing support to Michael Ward. And I know he considers you his brother and how important that's been for him and his life. And you've stayed at his home many, many times when you've come to Unity of Tustin to present. And when Nicholas John was there, he connected you with the Orange County Medical Society, and you still come and you teach doctors about meditation. So the next time you're there, I'm looking forward to seeing you again. And I'm sure Michael is too, unless he's in India.
Right. We never know where Michael's going to be, but he's always in our hearts.
But I also want to point out that this top endorsement by you on the back of my book now is one of the things that people see when they go on marjbrit.com and read about my book. And it was just amazing. You say Marj Brit is one of the great mystical visionaries of our time. And this groundbreaking work is one of the most important spiritual guidebooks I have ever read. A brilliantly crafted poetic roadmap for unveiling the unique love story embedded in every soul. This magnificent book is full of loving wisdom, kind guidance, and deep insight. I highly and enthusiastically recommend it. So I want to say thank you again for that. It means the world to me. And Michael and John, let's continue this dialogue. Share what's important to you to share today, John.
Well, that's a great question. I think just the experience of being here with you, Marj, and with Michael, and seeing Fabienne and Jean-Claude and Coral and the many members of the Unity of Tustin family and the Called by Love family, and how much I have just always resonated with that title, Called by Love, because that's what has happened to all of us at one level or another. We've all been called by love. We're being called home. And then, as Ram Dass said in one of his last books, walking each other home. We're all just walking each other home. And home is love. Home is to the heart. And I just want to mention that from that first call that Mary Ohm Wake initiated at Fred's restaurant in Kihei on Maui, where we were all eating Mexican food for lunch, quite an extraordinary unfolding. And you and I met a few months later. You were the first night I was visiting with you at your home. You took me over to Michael's house, and we had a wonderful dinner. And Michael and I embarked on a wonderful friendship. So two of the most treasured friendships in my life started that night in, I believe it was January of 2012. And later meeting Fabienne and Jean-Claude, and just being part of the wonderful community at Unity of Tustin, the connection that you mentioned with Nicholas John introducing me to the Orange County Medical Association, and coming back and doing many workshops, day-long retreats for the doctors there. And many workshops and presentations at Unity of Tustin. And also, I think one of the most beautiful aspects of my friendship with Michael is my remembering, when he seemed to think he retired back in 1970 or something, but I remember well his retirement in 2013 and his sense of being a little disoriented at the time, and hearing this beautiful presentation about Mother Miracle School, which I've heard about many times since then. But I remember saying to Michael, you know, Michael, this time in India, this period of our lives after retirement, or, you know, once we get into our 60s and 70s, is considered the most significant time of our lives. It's when we're really free to do whatever it is that calls to our heart. And I loved the question that Andrew Harvey posed to Michael about what is it that breaks your heart. Meditate in the middle of the night and tune to what it is that breaks your heart. And that brought me back to the book Awakening from Grief, in which a lot of the ideas that the book was written around was the idea that a broken heart is also wide open. So called by love, called to open our hearts, called to, you know, I mean, it's just like this family is so beautiful, and you're the mother of this family, Marj. And we're all your brothers and sisters and children.
You know, when Michael and I traveled to India with Andrew Harvey, Andrew said to us one day, I want you to leave the group and I want you to go on a journey. And I want you to go and the Nandi palm readers, find the Nandi palm readers. And he gave us the name of the town, no address. And he said, you'll be guided. Well, that was a little strange to me. And I'm sure it was also strange to Michael, but we followed it. And when we went and got the readings with the Nandi palm readers, I was listening to what they told to other people, and they talked about their children and their families, they didn't mention anything to me about birth children or grandchildren, and I don't have any. My son had passed by that time, and I was aware of that feeling of loss. And then he said, "You will have many spiritual children." Well, I think this call is partly an example of that. You will have many spiritual children and grandchildren, and it will be part of your legacy. He didn't say that, but I've never forgotten that. And they also told Michael that he and Andrew Harvey were born in the same hometown. So we have no idea what the connections are that go way back into past lives. All I know is that we're here now and we're connected now, and Spirit is revealing now to us that includes multiple lifetimes, past, present, and future. So thank you, John and Michael. And I'm going to go to Amy because I want Amy to call on. Amy is brand new to Call My Love. Fabienne and I and Michael are old timers, and so it's the Coral. But Amy, I'm going to call you and have you come on and join. Let's see. There we go. So, Michael, I want you to meet Amy. Amy, I want you to meet Michael. I said to Michael, Amy lives in New Zealand and it's in Asia. And Michael said, New Zealand's not in Asia. So I'm going to unpin you, John. Thank you, John. And I'm going to bring Michaelia along if I can figure out how to do that.
I'm doing the spotlight, Marj, so you can just...
Oh, fabulous. Okay. And you can bring us all back into gallery view. There we go. No, I got Eric instead of Michaelia.
Don't worry about the, oh,
There she is.
I will just put you back. She's
Add pin.
no. I have both the four of you.
Anyway, Amy, this is your Called by Love family, Amy. How does that feel to you?
Amazing. Like as I've said, I think in the book club, you know, mid-October, I never knew any of you existed except for Michaela, which of course is how I come to be here. So I feel like, you know, even now I struggled to articulate into words since, you know, mid to late October, this completely different world I've jumped into, somehow popped up into.
The fascinating thing about this is that one of the things it says about Called by Love is a worldwide campus of consciousness. That was part of our identifier from the very beginning. And this is an example of that. And so Michael and I are, of course, from the United States. You are from New Zealand. And Michaela, where'd Michaela go? There she is. Unmute, Michaela. Say hello. You introduced Amy to me, or to Called by Love, and you live in Austria, in Vienna, and you've been part of Called by Love since the very beginning. You came in because of Eckhart Tolle and Untitled Chapter. You were very involved in them, and you saw me on, I think, the program with Untitled Chapter, and however it happened. And you came to the Big Bear retreat that we did, which was fabulous. And then Amy from New Zealand, is now part of this incredible gathering, talking about India, where she's closer to than I am. What continent are you on, Amy?
That's a great question. What continent am I on? Australasia? I'm terrible at geography. Australasia, is that my continent? The Pacific? I don't know.
So, Amy, tell me a little bit about your impact. You've only been involved since the beginning of the book club a couple of months ago, 2 or 3, 8 weeks of the book club, and you volunteered to do the one session about your life, and Ben came in. How is that impacting you? And how's Called by Love, without your ever knowing anything about it, impacting you?
Magically.
Wonderful choice of words.
Magically. I mean, it's been transformative. The last 4 years of my life have been transformative, and Michaela has been a significant guide on that journey with her wisdom. And I think joining the book club is almost wrapping up and bringing those 4 years to a close and an opening, because now it opens this new path of love that's guiding me now. But so it's the last 4 years have been, and now there's more of a I have no idea where it's going, but what a ride.
What a ride.
I'm now on the magic carpet, and I'm excited.
So Michaelia, check in. What would you like to say?
You know, there is a connecting theme for me here in this group, and I thought of it when Amy spoke during one of the last meetings, and it was about Code 5, and you spoke about the site in gardens, and you spoke about the koi pond and the statue of St. Francis. And I thought, isn't that amazing? Because the next thing I knew was you mentioned Michael. And actually, Michael and I met in person, and guess where we met? In the city of St. Francis. Now, there is even another part of this. I recently moved. I moved to another part of town, and I live now very close to the big river. And there's a church just a few blocks away. It's a pretty big church. And this church is, well, you're going to get it, dedicated to St. Francis. Yeah.
So,
and yeah, go ahead.
Michaelia is a medical doctor, and she has been an amazing soul as part of Called by Love. You have been so helpful to Donald and his wife as they've gone through some of their really difficult challenges, and what an incredible gift. And it all happened because there was this web of light that's circling the planet, the points of light, of people getting acquainted with each other, people connecting heart to heart, soul to soul.
All from potential spend.
So beautiful. So absolutely amazing. I'm going to go back to gallery view. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Michaelia. And I want to go back to gallery view and see if there are other people who would like to share. So we only have about 10 minutes left. Anyone else like to share? Raise your hand or let us know. And if there's no one that wants to share, what I will do is give you a couple of glimpses about what I realize I'm on the verge of for next year relative to Called by Love. And I'm very, very excited about that. And if you happen to notice that in the email that I sent, or that Fabienne sent, there was a link to a Christmas letter that I wrote to just close personal friends. And on the back, it had glimpses on it and things that I saw as potentially part of my life in the coming year. And that Christmas letter looked like this on one side, and just a short Christmas message stuck in a Christmas card. But on the back, it just talked about glimpses of the year. And it's much more than anyone will ever read. But it was fascinating to me, and I've done this for quite a few years, to just glance back through my calendar and take a look at things that were significant from month to month and how they were guiding my life. So one of the things that happened in October was that I went on a free call that ultimately I signed up for a call with Sounds True called Intimacy Marketing. What I've always known is that I've never understood how to bridge this gap between my nonprofit heart and the ways of the web, and that are based on making money and lifestyle. And it's been a continuing conundrum for me. And so I went on this call with Sounds True called Intimacy Marketing. I'd never heard of the two people, Richard Tarbinger and Kylie Slavik. And Richard's agency is called Conscious Marketer. And he has been the person that created platforms for Thomas Hubel, for Eckhart Tolle, for Jack Kornfield, for Carolyn Mace, and others. And I thought, oh my God, those are all people that have been really important for me and really significant in my own journey. And if they know something about marketing that I've not gotten in touch with, I need to learn. And so I signed up for that. And then in November, Kylie and Richard offered a free course called a 5-week course, free, called The Power of Telling Your Story. Well, you can imagine how that attracted me, the power of telling your story. And it was a 5-week course. It was just fabulous. And then, of course, always following that kind of free offer, there is an offer for a longer potential. And it was starting in December, and I signed up for a 3-month course with them called The Accelerator. And it was based on the hero's journey, and it had action steps after each call, with one of them being a decision to launch another course. And so I made that decision to launch in February of 2022 a 3-month course that can ultimately become levels of a course, like my book has 3 levels in it. And I'm going to do that in 2022 on my book, Your Soul's Invisible Codes, Unveiling Your Sacred Love Story. So it's amazing how our life shows us the way sometimes when we struggle to understand it, when we struggle to understand how it works, when we feel disappointments, when we don't know, when we feel like we're in the unknowing and it's wild and crazy, or the rug gets pulled out from under us in various different ways, like things like the pandemic, and all kinds of human events that are part of our journey of consciousness and part of the realization of who am I. And so I just want to give you that glimpse into 2022. That is where the energy of the universe is taking me and leading me. I'm still not quite sure of how it's going to show up. And I'm still learning. So I guess I have the question for you. Are you still learning? Or have you decided you already know everything and you don't need to learn anything new? My awareness for my own life, even when I decided I already knew everything, I was not accurate because the universe keeps showing me more. The universe keeps showing me more. And so that is where I'm glimpsing that we will go in 2022. And I'm going to potentially interrelate it with my book website, marjbrit.com, and with Called by Love being a continuing with what it is doing, but that opening into affiliate relationships, which I see as potentially could include any unity minister, any New Thought ministry, any spiritual group that was interested in doing affiliate relationships. So I'm all of a sudden opening into new levels of potential and new levels of awareness. And I am excited about that. One of the things that I'm also excited about is some of the potentials that some of the people that um, I've gotten to know over the period of the pandemic have begun to share on some of the calls that I listened to. I thought I had a piece of paper that had some of that, so I don't see it right now. But um, of what 2022 is going to look like, that it's going to be a whole different energy, totally different than has existed in 2021 and 2020. And in that energy, there's going to be a new kind of consciousness birthing itself. The planet Uranus is about future time, and it's about higher states of consciousness, and it's about dissolving the things that are no longer working. So some of us have felt the impact of that divine dissolve. And 2022, if we look at it through this lens, is going to be an action-packed year, very eventful. It will continue to be a bit unstable, but there will be an acceleration. Now, I find it absolutely fascinating that the title of the course that I'm taking with Kylie and Richard is called The Accelerator. Whoa, is this a divine synchronicity? The accelerator. There will be an acceleration. And the nodes of fate are related in the next 13 months to Taurus, which is Fabienne's birth sign. And I have a lot of that in my planet chart because so I've moved into that right after Aries, which is my birth sign. And also about Scorpio, which is a revealer of secrets. Have you noticed we've got some of that going on in our country right now? This revealing of secrets. But I'm very excited about the coming year. I think it's going to be about cosmic awakening. It's going to be about change. It's going to be about the unexpected, but it's also going to be about new structures and setting new goals and manifesting. And it's going to be about living our destiny and loving our life and realizing legacy. Guess what? That's the beginning of Called by Love, living, loving legacy. And I am just fascinated about how it comes together, never before. A person that both Michael and I listen to is a person by the name of Pam Gregory, and we listened to some of her YouTube recordings. And she said, Jupiter is going to be square the North Node, which is about destiny, and it's going to be in Pisces, and it's about dreaming big as never before. So dream big in your dreaming bigger as never before in your entire lifetime. Amazing, kind of incredible to realize that that could be part of our coming year. And so I invite you to dream big with me. And I also invite you, if we go back to that sort of pre-plan that was in the slide presentation, I invite you to consider a year-end donation to Called by Love. We're in the process of times that have been challenging for a lot of people. And so it's not possible for everyone to give in ways they have. But thank you so much for your generous donations to Called by Love Institute this year. And we've had several significant gifts that came as a total surprise. All of them are tax deductible. And so thank you. I love that we did that 501c3 and at the very beginning of Called by Love. And one of the things that I'm really realizing is for us to go into our next levels, we need to begin to look at having a core team. And of course, Fabienne would be the first person. Her computer is her personal computer. Called by Love needs to buy her a new computer. It's her personal computer is on its last legs. Lots of potential, but it also requires lots of awareness of giving and receiving as being one. So let's go back to that final slide, Fabienne, where we look at some of the things we've done through the year, and also come back and thank you for all of the joy that you've brought into my life, for all of the joy we brought into each other's lives, and wish you happy holidays. And Fabienne, what else would you like to say, or anyone else?
Haben. Und natürlich auch, wenn man das jetzt so liest, dann verstehe ich schon, dass man hier entsprechend auch Zweifel hat, die Sprache, die hier verwendet.
I was wondering where that other language was coming from. Thank you, everyone. There is a lot, and I'm aware we are at time, but it's just really precious to see all the synchronicity. I put a note in the chat. There were a lot more that came even in the call today about some of the additional threads and some of the threads we already knew. So again, thank you, Marj, for bringing us all together with Called by Love. And sorry, things are weird. I don't know what's going on. Thank you for bringing us all together, and thank you for everyone who is here today, who has been part of Called by Love through all the previous years and this year and the years to come. So thank you for your support, and thank you, Marj, for bringing us together, and happy holidays. Merry Christmas to those who celebrate, and just precious gratitude from my heart to all of you.
And so let's go back as we begin to close to Liebestrom. And that has been our theme song for so many years. It has been the energy field of love, a dream of love from our very beginning. And realizing that it keeps showing up. I remember when Michael and I were in Paris and we were taking a taxi from the hotel to the train station. And we got in the taxi and sitting in the back seat, and the taxi driver had the radio playing. And guess what came on? Liebestrom. And when we went to the cathedral, one of the cathedrals later, that during that journey in Paris, there was a pianist, solo concert. And guess what was on the program? Liebestrom. So we'll end with Liebestrom and end with Dream of Love. If Fabienne can get that started. I want you to know that you are part of my experience of love.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm grateful for you in my life. And have a wonderful, wonderful holiday, a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. And I look forward to the coming year of 2022 together. Much love.
Much love.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Much love.